over the last year, there's been a massive, massive, massive increase in political violence against particularly conservatives. You've seen it with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You've seen it with the shooting at the ICE facility that ended up killing 2 detainees. You've seen it with the protest against ICE agents and how they've been physically attacked to the point where they actually have to have masks to ensure their own physical safety. You've seen it with the riots in LA and the destruction of property there. You saw it with the burning of Waymos and other property there. And then you've also seen it with when Trump was elected, you also saw it with his assassination attempts. He was shot in the ear and nearly killed if he did not turn a second later. Then you've also seen it with the burning down of Teslas and vandalism and terrorism against people that own Teslas. So we've seen tons of political violence against people on the right this year, and we've seen a massive increase. And now there's another incident of it happening. Now, and it happened with a political commentator named Tim Pool. Now, Tim Pool is probably one of the more smaller creators. He's definitely big, though. He has around... he does a lot of live streaming. He has one YouTube channel, I think, has around 2 million, 1 to 2 million. But still, he ended up getting, while he was at his home, a person ended up driving by and shooting at the house. And this is another major threat against freedom of speech, and it's showing an even larger increase in political violence. So let's watch the video and the news on the shooting. Luckily, no one was hurt. They have a lot of security there as commentators like him, even though they're pretty big. And they get a lot of death threats considering that they are in the political sphere. And they do have a large following. Even though... So he does get death threats, so he has a lot of security. And this happened, and luckily no one was hurt. And hopefully they catch the guy. Yeah. As I said earlier, violence against conservatives have been increasing massively. And the fact that people on the left are using terrorism and threats to suppress speech, that just shows that they are the people that actually do that actually end up threatening and trying to use terrorism and threats to suppress political thought. Those are evil, and he is fighting against it. And a lot of people on the conservative side are trying to fight against it. And it's super hard because you also have to care about your own security. In fact, Tim Pool is now and the security of your own loved ones. So Tim Pool actually ended up getting married, I think, a while back, but he recently got a kid, and so now he has to take care of their safety too. So, and it's a little bit, and so these terroristic threats don't just affect him, the commentator, it also affects his family. And, and I think that's particularly concerning with people on the right, since people on the right tend to have more kids and tend to form family units more. So even then, these death threats are horrible, and it's probably going to affect him massively. And because of that, he's having a whole bunch of issues with security. Again, he already has a massive security detail. So when this happens, it's going to get even worse. It probably did. Because if they didn't have armed guards and people inside with weapons, then I bet the person would have ended up going up to the house, breaking in, and then end up going shooting... and breaking into the house and end up shooting, and everyone there. And it's really scary that can actually happen, and that's why you need security like this. But it's also a little bit scary for smaller creators. For example, me. Although I don't have a big enough following to where I'm not going to get like death threats soon. most likely, anyways. It's a little bit scary, considering that I'm not going to have a security detail. I'm not rich enough. I'm not big enough. So, this is also, when this happens, it actually suppresses smaller creators more than these bigger creators, too. As smaller creators don't have the money, the resources to actually have this security. And this is actually, and this scares off smaller commentators. And it also limits the freedom of expression too, because whenever one wants to express a controversial opinion, they might not actually do it because of threats like this. And that's why I've seen, particularly an example is on Twitch. A lot of people, Twitch streamers, won't call out someone simply because, particularly with like Hassan's community, they tend to, whenever someone attacks Hassan verbally, they end up going and sending death threats to whoever ends up disagreeing with Hassan. So this actually ends up suppressing, and you've seen this in Twitch. There's a lot of suppression of particularly people that end up speaking out against him and speaking out against creators like that align with the left. So even people that are milquetoast, you've seen it with Ludwig. I think he tried to backtrack some of the stuff he said simply because he didn't want to get attacked by Hassan's community. So you've seen it with examples like that, and it's scary for smaller creators and creators that don't want the backlash and don't want the threats. And we've seen and because of the massive amount of violence and the threats of violence here, it's actively suppressing speech among particularly people on the right. And and this is horrible for democracy. Because the main thing that's important for democracy is the expression of ideas and the communication of those ideas to people. And when you have threats of violence and you get people trying to suppress that speech, then you limit freedom of speech and you get less thoughts, less ideas, and a worse functioning government as you get less communication. It also results in higher levels of radicalization too. As if someone feels threatened, they're not going to express their ideas and express their concerns. What they're going to do is bottle it up inside, and that's just going to feed their radicalization more. As if you're not allowed to express yourself, it's just going to foment inside you, and it's going to get worse. So with this violence right here, it's not actually good for, it's not good at all for freedom of speech and the democracy as a whole. So that, as he said there, they don't archive the live stream, and I haven't been able to see a video of it. Since it's like just basically they have like a chicken coop at their place, and they have like a live stream of what's inside the chicken coop, and not very many people watch it, and they don't archive it themselves. So there's a high chance that the podcast isn't archived anywhere, and it's been deleted. So it's sad that no one's probably archived it, but yeah. Yeah, here's an example of political threats. And this is from the right wing instead of the left wing. So when Marjorie Taylor Greene actually ended up disagreeing with Trump, some of the members of Trump, some people in MAGA ended up threatening her. And I think that's horrible. And she's actually experienced this type of stuff. Now, has she been shot at? No, I don't believe so. Unless I'm unaware of an incident happening. But again, these type... and one of the reasons she also said that she might leave Congress was because of threats and wanting to spend time with family and making sure that everyone's okay with that. So that's another example of speech and advocacy for certain policies being suppressed, and it's being suppressed in a violent way. So, and this is ruining our democracy as you get more radicalization and people that are going against more radicalization as they don't have the freedom to be able to express what they say, what they want to say, and what they're thinking. So it's not great. It's not good that this keeps happening. And I don't see a way to really cool this down besides arresting anyone that does say a physical threat. But I think we already have laws on the books for that. Sadly, I just don't think it's enforced. They need to enforce it more, and that would be another thing. If they actually did enforce it, then there would be less of it actually happening. For threats of violence, saying someone should die, that should all be illegal and arrested because it's incitement to violence. First of all. Second of all, it's not actual political discussion. It's not expressing ideas. It's a threat. So it's in no way expressing political ideas, and it's not protected under the freedom of speech there. So situations like that, I honestly think they need to be arrested. That might be one way to solve it, but I don't think that would solve it entirely. So you're always going to have nut jobs that are crazy and actually think threats are are justified, but they're not. They never are. And those people like that do need to be arrested. I think that might solve some of it, but it's never going to solve all of it. Yeah, and I bet all three of those people ended up Marjorie Taylor Greene, uh, person from TPUSA. I believe pretty much all of them have probably experienced threats, and they probably all have security teams. So they've all been through this, um, and it's horrible. It's it's not good for one's mental health. It's not good for the discussion within the politics of the United States. It's not good at all. And we need to find a way to stop this. As again, I mentioned arresting people. That is the most basic thing that we can do. Sadly, I don't really see a way to make this any better besides that. Um, Besides maybe calling out people that are that are use rhetoric that is violent in nature, and maybe stop ad hominem attacks, maybe. But even then, I don't think that's going to solve the entirety of the issue. It might decreases. But the thing is, that's on a law issue, which you can regulate into law. You can regulate. You can't regulate that into law. You'd have to solve it with cultural. It becomes a cultural norm not to use ad hominem attacks and calling people out for that. Sadly, you can't really regulate that into law. But that might be something as like a cultural change. The thing is, that's going to take forever to change. And it's not really going to change within our generation, since you've seen the rhetoric actually get worse. It's getting worse and worse over time. So we need something actually catastrophic to probably reset that. Or it might never be reset ever. Yeah, and again, the Charlie Kirk assassination. The this is the Charlie Kirk assassination ended up resulting in a large resurgence in right wing. You saw a large amount of right wing. The Republican Party got a massive boost, and since the assassination didn't, since Temple wasn't assassinated here, you won't actually see that. But hopefully, this further convinces some people, some of the more reasonable, some of the more honest, more non-violent people, to actually switch parties and actually stop this political violence and actually advocate against it. As this just adds another thing on the board for violence against conservatives and continuing violence against conservatives throughout the nation. But yeah, it's also the Charlie Kirk set. If you remember, never mind. Let's continue the video. So here's the actual post that he had originally. Late night, a vehicle approached our property, opened fired. No one was hurt. Our security team is reviewing the incident and relay the reporting to appropriate enforcement. This is the price we pay for speaking out against evil. And this continues to be the price that a lot of people pay on the conservative side. They continue to just want to do what's right and do what they think is best for the nation. Yet they continue to be threatened. They continue to be threatened by the left, by the far left. They continue to be threatened, and this is not helping the political debate at all. This violence, these threats, the escalation of what's happening within the body politic right now, within politics at all, and it's not good for the overall state of the country. And this worries me. And we've already seen tons of assassinations, and I wonder what will be the tipping point. As whenever we have a political assassination, and one that's gotten, at this point, since you've had so many of them, I wonder what the tipping point will be when people will actually say to stop. And will actually change our culture and actually stop the violence. Sadly, I don't think that's going to happen soon. As, again, we had with the Charlie Kirk assassination, where there was a decent amount of people that ended up going to the Republican Party. But even after the Charlie Kirk assassination, we still get stuff like this. So, I honestly don't know what the tipping point will be. I think eventually the tipping point might just be when something catastrophic happens and a civil war starts. That might happen. I don't know. But anyway, whenever this continues to happen, we need to actually stand up against this. Since violence continues to happen, conservatives are being threatened. Even with that, we need to continue to stand up, continue to fight for what we believe in, and speak out. As what is happening with these threats? If we end up standing down and we don't actually say anything, at that point they are winning. And we must be brave. We must stand up. We must fight for what we believe in, or else they win. And I believe that's what we should do in situations like this. Stand up, fight, continue on. As otherwise they're winning. And hopefully that's what happens with Tim Pool. Hopefully he continues to make videos, and I think he will. He'll probably do some security changes too, but hopefully he continues to stand up, continues to do what he's doing, continues to bring his live show out, and hopefully he continues with all that. As we need people that stand up, that don't bow down to the violence, to actually change this country. And I think that's what Tim Pool is doing right now. And hopefully he continues to do so. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and thank you all for listening, everyone, and I'll see you next time.